Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination thrive. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, we go to let pop culture lair.
Welcome to at least the first of at least two times you'll see me today. I will be live this afternoon at 4:30 as well. Going to do a little Friday show. Say hi to some of my people who may be watching during a decent hour. Going to have a couple guests. Plan on having Arnie Apbacker from Area 51. His brand new comic that's out that we've supported on the show. And Jarrett from Comics League will also be here to promo some of the stuff we have. So we got two guests that are going to be promoting their projects, and then we'll just be talking some geek this afternoon for about, I'm going to say 90 minutes, because I probably that'll put us about halfway through Game 1 of the World Series. So I'll probably be distracted through that latter half. So we're probably going to keep it to about 4:30 to about 6 o'clock. Take about an hour off, watch the World Series, and then if Dave sends me a link, I'll have jump on the Baki stream. But yeah, just wanted to do. I wanted to start doing at least once a week, if not more, during the daytime. So this one tonight is just just to blow off some steam. Say hi, because I have a platform to do so. William, thoughts on people misrepresenting what Gunn said in an interview today about staying in DC? Lots of, he wasn't misrepresenting, and that's not clickbait. He has no contract beyond what he's guaranteed. So basically, next year, he's a free agent, and it's not like they can't sign him because they've signed Abdi and DeLuca. So I don't, that's not clickbait. That's just reality. Now, that's not a guarantee that he's going to up and go, that he's going to be replaced or anything like that. But the reality is, if there's no guarantee, no stability beyond what his current contract offers, then what's he supposed to say? He can say that he's going to put a plan out, but there's no guarantee. And that's what I find the problem with. There's no guarantee he's going to be one to implement it, or that somebody's going to come in and continue his idea. I would like to see this thing fleshed out to its completion, and when it starts to fail, then move it out of the way. But right now, we're just getting started, and DC's dealt with a lot of instability. But that's not clickbait. I've said this. I've been saying this for quite some time. And I'm not into clickbait. There's no guarantee James Gunn is going to fulfill this 10-year plan, simply because there's no guarantees within the company. There's no guarantees that there's no contract that we know of, because people say, well, he's already under contract. No, I mean, why would they announced Abdi and DeLuca's contract, but they're not if he was under contract, he would have announced it, because that gives stability for him to chart out his path. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm not all the way in with DCU right now. I will enjoy these projects, but I'm never going to give it my full weight of approval when there's no guarantee that I'm not going to end up, back at square one again. And that's going to be it for me, by the way. If there's any more stability, there's too many other things that I can plant my flag in. Why waste my time with a franchise that doesn't seem to want to give people continuity? So, yeah, I mean, right now, James Gunn, he doesn't know. I think he's being honest. I don't think that's coming. I think he doesn't know beyond certain projects if he's going to be there or not. Whereas Abdi and DeLuca, they know they're going to be because they've been signed. So that's not me wishing for him to go. It doesn't make any difference to me at this point, other than the fact that it's just more instability. But that's not clickbait. That's not, people ginning up shit. That's the truth right now, unfortunately. How you doing, Ozzy? What's going on? Going to be honest, a decent chunk of fans would leave if they got rid of Gunn. The people who got rid of him are not going to care about that. You got to realize the people, when they come in and do these things, they don't look at his chunk of fans as anything significant that they can't outdo. You as a fan might think differently, but they, as the people with the billions of dollars that are doing these things, they don't think like we do. They don't think of the chunk of fans that would leave as anything significant to them. They think they can do better. And you know what? You don't become billionaires running companies if you don't think you can do better than the last guy. You run with that kind of confidence. So that's not going to mean anything to them. That's going to mean not at all. I mean, I wish it did, because once again we go back to the stability factor. But when you reach the point where you have a lot of zeros next to your name, you don't think that you're going to do less than the person you're replacing. You think you can do better. That's how you got there to begin with. So happy birthday. Hope your birthday is just over. So hope you had a good birthday. They should have upped Gunn and Stafford's contract. This uncertainty is not good for you. I agree. But this is what gives me pause about the future of the DCU and why I'm just taking it minute by minute. They could do that right now. If it was their intention to give Gunn that kind of stability, they could have done it the same day they announced Abdi and DeLuca. In fact, that would have been perfect time to do it. But whoever is probing or whatever, maybe the conversations that Ellerson's had as far as these bids goes, as part of the bids, is good. Hey, we plan on doing our own thing with DC, but what you guys are doing with Warner Brothers proper is fine. Go ahead and sign them. Or he could change his mind about all that. He could buy them out. The only thing that the contract basically guarantees you is that you're going to get paid a certain amount of money either over the course of time or during a buyout, and that your place there should be solidified. But I don't know why wouldn't you give one to Gunn if you are, unless the incoming people don't want it. I don't know. I mean, one way or another, but the kind of stuff that's going around Gunn today is reality. Whenever you don't have somebody locked in under an agreement, their future is not guaranteed, unfortunately. They could do that. Usually that doesn't happen, though. Usually you don't make moves that prospective buyers are going to, because that makes your company less attractive. Part of the adding DeLuca and Abdi to the company under contracts was to make the company attractive because of their record. They could have done the same thing with James Gunn. So I don't know why they haven't. And like I said, the door is open for speculation. What's going on, Fourth? Hello, Aussie. 2 Aussies in the house. Hunter Iggy 2017. William, what are your thoughts on Netflix? Say they are not interested in the WB. They're not interested in the linear programming. So if they were to purchase this, which I don't think they're going to, it would be next year sometime after the company is officially split. All they would is buying it for the library and the IP. But they're not interested in the TNT, CNN, and Discovery and all that other stuff. They're not interested in the legacy television because that's not their thing. So if Netflix did make a bid, it would only be for the half of the company that included HBO Max, library, etc. Here's Offers Gun Universe. Okay, once again, guys, this stuff that you're hearing, especially with things moving so fast, it's probably, I'm going to say 60-40 bullshit. That's why I'm really hesitant to really say anything about it, because there's a lot of shit going around and only a handful of people really know what's going on. So yeah, when you hear from a person who heard from a person, you know, I would be very careful, because we didn't even know there had been 2 more bids, even though that's customary. That first bid, we heard about that first bid a month after that first bid had been made. And here we are on bid number 3. So be careful where you're getting these information from. Here's the CLW altered Guns Universe, Swamp Thing on hold, Amanda Waller canceled, Target Rock terminated. Those are all done before this bidding even started. So no, I don't think that has anything to do with anything, to be honest with you. Those are going to be internal things, which you will look for if you're thinking that any sale would have anything to do with Guns Universe would be Gunn himself. You know, if he's announced that, you know, he's got 4 or 5 more years added to what his already agreement is, or that he's leaving. But as far as like the project's internal project, those decision making process right now are happening between him and Safran, because that's below the echelon. How you doing, Jose? Yeah. Any type of consolidation for the WGA is going to be bad. It's going to be bad if another studio consumes another studio. It's just not good. But like I said, we've explained these, you know, over the last couple of days. Anytime you eliminate places for people to go work, it allows the remaining people to screw those people over and treat them like shit, and thus you get a lesser product. Terminated generally means something got going and was well into some type of production apparatus, and then it was cut. Canceled generally in production terms means you cancel it it stopped during the planning stages. That's how I perceive it, at least. How much do I think Predator Badlands gets opening domestically? Over, under 100 million? Under. That doesn't necessarily mean bad, because they didn't spend a lot of money on these movies, but I would say under, but could be over. I don't know if it's over. I don't think it's going to be like, you know, like a, you know, $200 million weekend, but I'm guessing 85, 90. I don't know exactly. When a lot of stuff gets canceled or moved around, and remember, he's moved things up that weren't necessarily in the order that he presented them in. Supergirl originally wasn't the second movie out, but he got a script, so that he went with it. So some of these things are not necessarily canceled; they just got, you know, moved aside for projects that were in his, you know, his opinion, ready to go. There's all kinds of stuff to watch, man. I mean, you could just put Shutter on automatic and just go there. William, they asked Gunn for a 10-year plan and only signed him to a 4-year contract. Well, he was already on. I think he was already on the original contract that he signed up with before he got promoted to this position. So I think that's his original contract. WVD needs to ensure the consumers, fans, they aren't wasting their money. Well, that's I've been saying that the whole time, but I don't know what the plan is. That's why you know what? If the DCU continues, I'm all right. If it doesn't, I'm all right. I just won't be back. I'm just done. My world will still revolve around its axis, no matter what. But you know, I'm just, you know, as long if it continues, it continues. If it doesn't, it's not like it's a shock to me if that were to go down. I'm just at the point in my life to where if it does happen again, or if there's more instability, there's so many science fiction, horror, and fantasy IPs out there right now. I got a Blade Runner TV show coming up. I got Dune movies coming up. There's a lot to talk about without talking about DC movies. I mean, hell, we did it for a long time when they weren't putting out crap. So we'll just go back to that. Ooh, it's a James Gunn heavy show. My goodness. Question, William. James Gunn is playing for the long game with DCU and Zack Snyder. Zack Snyderverse. Are you ready for Darkseid? James Gunn is taking time. I don't know. I just don't have the information to give you a better answer, Hunter. I just don't know what he's planning. I don't know how he's planning. I don't know the timetable of things that he's planning, other than the stuff that we know that's already out right now. I don't know if he's planning with a contingency that, other people may be taking over his stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Waller will see the light of day. I think well, yeah, but a lot of people do that. I also think that you might see whatever he was going to do with Waller get folded up into what Checkmate is. That would make all the sense in the world if that's the case, because Checkmate definitely crosses paths with Amanda Waller, and it's redundant. If you develop, when you first were talking, you were talking about Waller, and then all of a sudden Checkmate takes shape and takes more hold than you thought it would. It makes no sense to continue with Waller, since she's a relevant part of Checkmate. You could literally put her in that show and have her in every episode, and it would be the same thing. Hell, I don't think we'll see Batman and Wonder Woman. I'll just go to Superman Saga. I don't. Once again, there is nothing out there. That's an opinion, and that could be true, but I don't have any information to say that something other than what he is announcing is happening until he announces otherwise. I just hope and pray that Amazon, Apple, or Microsoft get to understand. Yeah, I mean, those are ones that don't like. I don't have a direct studio legacy type of situation. They have owned studios before. Amazon owns MGM, but it's not the same thing with Warner Brothers. You don't have a lot of crossover IP with them. I think Apple would be the best situation. They've worked with Apple before. Apple has the money, so. And I don't think I think Apple might, out of all the ones, Apple would be the ones that might leave everyone in place. Waller is a really important character in DC, not just Suicide Squad stuff. Hell, she's the reason Terror Goodness exists. But the general public doesn't know or care about that. You see what I mean? The general public is only going to know the Amanda Waller that has been brought through to them via Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and the Suicide Squad. So that's when we're talking about movies, you have to realize we're probably only talking about the things people know about and people have watched on a regular basis. And you're bringing her up in things that, like I said, the vast majority of the people have not seen. So she's only as important as James Gunn has made her as he's used her. I still think she's extremely important, even on those grounds, because she's probably gonna, she's involved in everything at every level. She's important in the comics as well. But once again, I know who she is in the comics. I'm 3% of the overall movie going population that would actually know who she was. Most people are going to know Amanda Waller. They probably don't even know she's a comic book character, to be honest with you. William James going to say it goes beyond Man of Tomorrow. Yeah, if it's a 10-year plan, Man of Tomorrow is 2 years away. So yeah, it would be part of that. I don't know. I don't know if that's even a good idea, Aaron. We saw when Discovery and HBO Max merged what kind of melancholy thing that was. I'm just going through these questions, guys. That'll pretty much be the show, I guess. William, some articles are saying whoever buys WDD may make Reeves merge as Batman, and there's no way for them to do that. If someone tries to make Matt Reeves merge anything into something he doesn't want, he will walk. He will walk. That is his leverage. That is his power. So there is no making. If they try to do it, he'll walk, and you just don't have a movie. And Batman is always going to make more money than Superman, so that's not a reason to even merge them. But Reeves, that's a non-starter, because as soon as those conversations start being had, Reeves will walk, and it's a moot point. I have not heard of Google being interested in it, but hell, every time I wake up, there's somebody else that's either realistically interested in or just posturing. So Google has the money. Yeah, I heard that, but I don't know if that's what he wants. I think this cat wants to go. I think David Zaslav wants to hang around. That's probably they probably offered it, and he said, "Never mind." I don't think David Zaslav has plans to stay beyond this, beyond either the buyout or whatever the hell happens. I think he's going to collect that's going to be his quarterly or annual bonus will be predicated on the revenue generated by this sale. So he's looking to jump out of the plane with his golden parachute. I don't think offering him. See, he's there. He has that already, and he only wants to be there. I think to get this facilitated and get the hell out of there. I don't think he's going to be around. That's actually a good era. JLA in the 70s is actually a pretty good era. Kind of got goofy in the 80s. Sorry, with J.M. DeMantis and Keith Giffen turning Justice League into fucking comedy shows. I heard some say Saudi Arabia could get it, and I think you would have people get up in arms over that. I think you'd have congressional people not go for that. So yeah. Well, even if Matt Reeves walks, they can still merge it. I don't think that once he walks, the project's done. You're not going to get people to. No one's going to want to be part of that project. I could see. I can't see the people involved wanting to be. They bought into Matt Reeves' vision, and if he's not there, and there's a drastic shift and you'd have to make a drastic shift in direction. I think that it would kill the project. I don't think there would be a Batman continuation once Matt Reeves goes. They could take it and do something with it, but it's not. It's going to be the perception of it is going to be that Matt Reeves walked and it's some leftover shit. I don't think that's going to go. All right, so you're 6 issues in. Cool. It gets better, Aaron. It gets better. This isn't 30 years ago, though. This isn't 30 years ago. And you're talking about like I said, once again, just the conversation ends at the fact that this is in 1995. This is literally 30 years later. Everything is different. Everything is different from how that did. And even with Batman Forever, even though Joel Schumacher added his stamp to it, it was still considered a continuation from those movies in that theme and that style. I can't see it happening these days. I can't see it happening 30 years later in a different climate and with you also didn't have a Batman Returns movie like that was not the best received either. I don't see it. I mean, anything can happen, but the Matt Reeves situation is not the Tim Burton situation from 30 years ago. WB continued to DCU without slander. Yeah, and look how that happened. Look how that turned out. I don't think they were, to be honest with you. I think WB post Snyder was full of shit. And just basically said what people wanted to hear to buy themselves time. I don't think they had a plan. They said a bunch of stuff, but it never happened. Remember, those guys had 5 years post Snyder. So all the stuff that they say they were planning on doing it, I think they're full of shit. I think they're blowing smoke up people's asses to buy themselves time to see how many of their dumb ideas would stick, and none of them did, and that's why they're gone. I don't think they ever had any plans. I think Abdi and DeLuca did, but that wasn't necessarily a plan. That wasn't what Hamada was doing. That was they had too many people that said too many things that never came through. So yeah, but look at how that turned out though. Do you really want that again? Hi, Belle. You cooking late night again? Yeah, I adore Batman Forever. I this whole Schumacher cut thing is just kind of it's become annoying actually. To be honest with you, I haven't decided, man. I don't know because we already are streaming Sunday night at 10:30, so I don't know. I haven't decided. I know I'm watching it, and I know we'll review it, but I don't know if we're gonna do a watch along of it. I haven't. I still got what a couple days. It's a Sunday night show. I will know by Saturday afternoon if we're gonna do it or not. Hoping to watch a long walk. Oh, this weekend long walk is pretty good. FM was all right. For some reason, Batman Returns gets a pass just for being a more weird gothic. At the time, because I went and saw Batman Returns in the movie, it didn't get a pass. It got it. It got well. If you want to call it, got a pass. It got by on star power because you had Danny DeVito, you had Michael Keaton, you had Michelle Pfeiffer. You had some pretty big names, but I don't think Batman Returns is a very good movie, to be honest with you. And it really took the wind out of my sails as far as that franchise goes. And that wind wasn't restored until Batman Forever. Hi, Bill. Yeah, Batman Forever is up there for me. I love that movie, and I love the merchandising around that movie. I had a lot of fun. The soundtrack for that movie was kick ass, man. Hunter Iggy William, what are your thoughts on LeBron James being investigated? He's not being investigated. How his name came up was that Damon Jones, who was one of the people that was being investigated, was providing someone else with inside injury information on LeBron James since he was around LeBron James and would have that information. LeBron James is not being investigated. Damon Jones, who is near him either as with the Heat or at times with the Lakers, is being investigated for providing inside information in regards to injuries and stuff, things that were not available to the public. So that's what that's about. DCKO is out. Back. We're about to get another issue in about a week or so. Yeah, I reviewed DCKO a couple of weeks ago, Aaron. It's really good. You should definitely get into it. Batman Begins, like I said, I know some of you guys consider that some kind of holy grail. It bored my eyelids off. That movie really, and I'm not joking. Everybody's different. That movie bored the shit out of me. I can't speak for Robert Pattinson. I cannot speak for Robert Pattinson, but I think so. Guys like Robert Pattinson buy into creators' visions, and it's not like he has a shortage of jobs. And I think so. I would bet though, but I can't guarantee you that. Oh, please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Batman and Michael Keaton was fine for the era that he was in. For the era that he was in, he was fine. There have been, in my opinion, better Batman since him, though. Yeah, and that's not always a good thing. Tim Burton Unleashed isn't always the best thing, and that movie showed it. Compare you to I hated that song. That it sounded like an Irish Spring commercial. I like Seal, but I hate that song. Question Williams, Super LLs is back. Super Lois is back. I no, I have not. The last issue I read of that comic, she had just lost her powers. It was boring for me. Its pacing was just it's not. I don't like that movie. Its pacing just really took me out of it. And I don't like, obviously, you know, I like Liam Neeson, but if you're going to do my favorite Batman villain, that's not the way to do him, in my opinion. Yeah, but it came out in early 2000, holds a special place in my heart. That's fine. Listen, movies are experiential. They're going to mean the dumbest fucking movie in the world is going to mean something to somebody out there. Dude, somewhere out there, Dudes, Where's My Car is special to somebody. I think that movie is smoldering garbage. But somebody out there, that movie means something to somebody. That was a date night. Maybe they met their wife. You know, maybe, you know, something else was attached that night. They went out to a party after that. There's going to be some moment, some memory or person that they attach to a movie. And that's going to be every single movie. So just because I say a certain movie is just not for me, that there's a time and a place for everybody to where the movie connects. It's like music. Music's the same way. Listen, we could be listening to the same music, but you may hear it in a different era than I heard it with. So it's going to mean something different to me than it did to you. That's fine. That's fine. But when you're asking me or when I'm discussing Batman Begins, I think it's one of the most boring superhero movies ever made. And I think it's overrated. I think that entire trilogy is overrated. Outside of the 43 minutes that Heath Ledger is in The Dark Knight, I could do without the entire Dark Knight trilogy, the Nolan trilogy. In fact, you guys know there's a version. I don't watch The Dark Knight anymore. I have a compilation. I've actually posted it on Twitter of Heath Ledger's scenes. That's what I watch. Because that's the movie for me. William, David Fincher pinched a Star Wars film to Lucasfilm, but Lucasfilm would not give him. Yeah, that David Fincher has evolved into that kind of guy. For better or for worse. And he's one of the good ones. Listen, when it comes to Final Cut, I think a director should, you know, not all directors should get it. Because the producer and the people who are looking at it, investing in it, you know, the director's hired to direct, and the producers are there to produce and oversee the process. And sometimes they're seeing it at an angle that's probably advantageous over the director. Sometimes directors are passionate about their work. Producers have to be passionate about the overall product and the viability of it. So when I hear cuts and final cuts and director's cuts, just because we've had some that were brilliant, the majority of these cuts, the editor and the producer were right to cut the stuff. So. Begins bored me, yes. But you like the Batman. And I'm going to explain it to you my point of view, and you guys can disagree with me. Even if you want to concede that the pacing of the Batman is similar to Batman Begins, which it's not, but if you say this where you want to put your bases as far as boredom goes, the intensity in the Batman is there from the beginning throughout all the way to the end. The scenery, the city, the aesthetics, everything that, in my opinion, Nolan was trying to do in the Dark Knight or the Nolan trilogy, Matt Reeves succeeded in the Batman. That's just how I feel about it. You can slow things down because there are parts in the Batman that without the intensity, for me, they would drag. But they don't because that intensity is there. Actor-wise, Ben Affleck. Movie-wise, and when I say overall movie, I mean everything involved, aesthetics, direction, plot, everything is going to be the Batman. Even though Robert Pattinson isn't my favorite actor in the cowl, it's going to be Ben Affleck. Yeah, but I was watching him as a kid, and that was cool. Cooler than what we had gotten on the big screen or in any Batman motion at that point. Got to remember, 1989, we were still going through the recovery period. We hadn't relapsed into the cartoon stuff. We were still in the process of rehabilitating Batman's intensity. So the last time you saw Batman on the big screen, it was Adam West. So you got to realize that it's dated. I agree, it's dated, but It was cool then. I don't know if he's going to want to do a TV show. Who knows? Soul Plane is special to someone. Not me, but and it made a lot of money. Soul Plane actually did pretty well. There's some Gen Xers that love Superman. I enjoyed it. I had fun. But okay, so I walked out of it, had fun, had some issues, good enough to keep going. There's a difference between how I walked out of like Batman versus Superman or a movie like Blade Runner or a movie like Sinners. You just when you walk out of certain movies, you know you've seen that movie. You know you've seen a special movie and that you're still buzzing over that. And you're still, when you see a really good movie that's on that level, it changes the way you think and look at other movies. Superman didn't do that for me. 2025 didn't do that for me. Man of Steel changed the way I looked at how Superman should be presented on the big screen. Superman did. And that's not a knock against Superman. It just, there's certain levels of awe. I enjoyed Superman. I was awe-inspired by Man of Steel. I enjoyed Superman. I was thoroughly enthralled in Center. See, there's a different level. So yeah, Superman was all right, but it wasn't Man of Steel in that like, holy shit, I got to rewire my brain now of how I've been thinking Superman all this time. Superman just took from things I had already seen. So, did it all right, but not the same. I couldn't believe how good Batman Begins was, especially coming off of Batman and Robin. Yeah, Batman and Robin is a horrible movie, though. So that's a low bar to get going. Like I said, there's going to be people that love Batman. There's people who love Nolan in general. I'm not the biggest Nolan fan, so there I am. I think two of his movies are brilliant. Dunkirk is brilliant. Oppenheimer is brilliant. The rest of his movies, my life did not change 1 minute. And that includes movies that I thought would. I went into Inception thinking I was going to see something at the Blade Runner level, and I was disappointed in Inception. Tenet, I'm still trying to unfuck my brain from that movie, and it's not in a good way. Memento, most of these movies, and like the Batman trilogy, it's just not for me. It's just not for me. But, I think he's risen to the level, though, to where if he does put out a movie, I will go see it because I don't want to miss out on the next Dunkirk or Oppenheimer. So I'll give it a shot. Yeah, he made one for Batman Forever, and he made one for his album. Yep, he exactly did. I can't say that. I don't think she was. I don't even know if I call that Catwoman. I mean, hey man, I get some lotion. Oh my goodness. I like Zoe Kravitz over her, to be honest with you. That's just a personal opinion. I like Anne Hathaway, but the sampling size just wasn't there. I mean, I don't think she's as relevant in that movie as that Catwoman is in the Batman, but people differ. There you go. There you go. There's somebody out there that movie was not good, and it's not just enough that I thought it was a bad idea to even make it. It's when you see it and you give it a chance, and I gave it a chance for free, and I still want my money back. It's not a good movie. See, that movie was just didn't do it for me. That even DeVito's Penguin didn't do it for me. No, I mean, I'll put the link in. I'm not going to do that for free. You're going to have to. I'm not going to endure that movie again for free. Fuck that. Eartha Kitt, Julie Newmar, those are good Catwomen for the era that they were in too. They were also fun. Question, William, what are your thoughts on James Gunn's Superman movie skyrocket to number 2 in Nielsen ratings? Good. because everybody who's watching that movie seems like they're watching all the other Superman stuff too. Like how many people are watching Man of Steel 13, 14 years after it's done? Batman 22 is the best Batman film for me, but it's how I met up with Kevin O'Docker and now we're married. Oh, there you go. So if you have another kid, Belle, you got to name it. You got to name it after something in the movie. Robert Pattinson O'Docker. Nelson Cobblepot Docker. I don't know. See, I have the exact opposite. I loved her in that movie. I thought she was perfect in that movie. But see, that's the thing. We all watch these same movies, just have a different of opinion. I thought that Zoe Kravitz Batgirl, Zoe Kravitz Catwoman was better integrated into the Batman than Anne Hathaway's was integrated into The Dark Knight Rises. But I also think The Dark Knight Rises is not a very good movie. So that's a tipping point for me right there. One of them's in a better movie. One of them is in a movie that I adored. There hasn't been. If you look at the detective aspect in Batman comes almost solely from the comic books. The detective aspect in Batman is almost solely from the comic books. If you look at every Batman movie, even though Pattinson was a brand new detective and he missed a lot of shit, it was still a mystery there. So when you're talking about, there's only been one movie where there's actually been a mystery. Because Batman 89 was no mystery. It's a Joker. Batman Returns, no mystery. It's a Joker. It's not the Joker. It's Catwoman. It's the Penguin. Batman Forever, no mystery there. No detective work needed there. Batman and Robin, the only detective work in Batman and Robin is where my money went and why I spent it on that movie. Batman Begins is sort of a mystery, sort of a swerve, but not really a lot of the detective work. The Dark Knight, it's the Joker. I mean, it's the Joker. The very first scene of the movie, it's the Joker robbing a bank. And then there's really no detective work in The Dark Knight Rises. I think Batman, even though he's not as good a detective as he will become, there's more of a mystery there because you have the whole Zodiac type of mystery type thing that was going on there. But for the most part, no, Ben Affleck wasn't the detective. That detective reputation has come from other things other than the movies. I would like to see it in the movies more often, but I understand you got 2 hours. You would have, if you read Batman, there's 2 or 3 issues sometimes where it takes him to nail down, unless it's a mainline hero. But a lot of the times when you read Batman, it's not the mainline heroes that cause the detective work. It's the middle guy. It's the person who hired the mainline villain. It's the person who's like the nameless basis person, or organizations that hadn't been seen before, like prior to the Court of Owls. That was a mystery. So, yeah, I think Reeves came as close to that as possible. But no, I don't think Ben Affleck's Batman represents a detective commonly. Even though every Batman is maybe capable of it, they have not portrayed it on the screen. That's probably a better. Let's see. Back to the Future going to cinemas next week for its 40th anniversary. Oh my God. Saw that shit in the movie theater. My God. Will you be going? No. Did you see? Yes, I did. I saw that in the movies. In 1985. Saw that in the movies 1985. I will never forget. I saw it at what was Krikorian Cinema in San Bernardino on North Rose Avenue in Highland, California, San Bernardino, California. Those are memories I'm never going to forget. And that was one of the very first movies for me. And that whole year, as far as soundtracks and stuff, that same year, I think it was, in fact, I think that same month was Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome with Tina Turner. We don't need another hero. So that was when MTV and the music was really starting to grab hold of the advertising process. So yeah, but I don't have any desire to see Back to the Future in the movie again. I can get the popcorn bucket without seeing it in the movie theater. How you doing, Antonio Baker? What's going on? I like to take the Snyder took on DC to a mythological height with it. People wanted their DC characters treated like Marvel. I 100% agree. That's what wowed me about him. It was like it was the folklore. It was the mythology. And if you look, the closest thing that's coming to it on a regular basis to me is the Absolute Universe. Wonder Woman is treated like a goddess. Zack treated her like a goddess. You know, the way Superman is looked upon, and Absolute Superman is the way that, you know, I think he would be looked upon, and if he were something real on this earth. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Always remember The Dark Knight was the first comic book to make a movie to make $1 billion, and people thought that a movie had been a picture nomination. It didn't deserve a Best Picture nomination. It didn't, and it didn't deserve Best Director. If you're being fair and objective, that movie, the guy who got the Academy Award for that movie, the one person that deserved one, got one. It got one. That movie is Heath Ledger's performance. And Heath Ledger's performance is what drove people back to the theaters over and over again. Heath Ledger's Joker and the whole lore around it and passing before it, and when you're watching The Dark Knight and you first see Heath Ledger on screen as the Joker, in my opinion, this is how I felt. I knew I was watching an all-time performance. I knew I was watching something in the De Niro Godfather's level. I knew that I was watching something, you know, at the Pacino Scarface level. I knew I was watching something that was going to be in that top 5 of all time things I had seen. I knew, where you could feel yourself watching it, and that's what drove people. A lot of what The Dark Knight did was repeat viewers. Heath Ledger gives a mesmerizing performance as the Joker. That is one of the most, if not the most well-deserved Academy Award ever awarded, in my opinion. That's a no doubter. And Robert Downey Jr., the last comedy I paid to see, was nominated that year, and there was no way in fuck he was winning. Robert Downey Jr. does a brilliant. Kurt Lazarus, I'm the dude playing the dude. He did an absolute brilliant performance. In any other year, he probably would walk away with the statue. But what Heath Ledger brought to The Dark Knight is The Dark Knight for me. It is The Dark Knight for me. It is why that movie made $1 billion. To be quite honest with you, it is why The Dark Knight Rises made $1 billion. Even though he had passed, it brought a lot of people to that franchise that were not going to be there if it wasn't for Heath Ledger's performance. Yeah, true must make you feel. Yeah, that's yeah. That's Man of Steel is that one of those movies for me. Okay, Sir Christopher Nolan. I mean, I'm not British. I don't have to call him anything. Yeah, she's like naked in half the movie, and that's probably why you like it for. Yeah, exactly. I actually like her, and I want to see her in more. I would love to see her and Sophia Falcone in a show or in something. Yeah, and that outfit that she wore. You had a black woman and you had a white woman. That I think you're talking about Eartha. You're talking about Eartha Kitt. Eartha Kitt had that sultry purr voice. Oh, I love that part of it. I love that part of it. When Zod says, "Hey, we're just going to flatten the Earth. Sorry, humans." I got a chance to meet her. and Eartha Kitt and Burt Ord at in 2017, the same Comic Con that I met Stan Lee in person at. I was literally guarding their table, and Ray Park was at the other table. And because that Comic Con, like I've always told you guys, I got pictures from it. I'll show you guys if I can dig them up. For some reason, they didn't invest in, when you have lines and you have partitions and people either have to walk through them or you have something like a barrier. Nobody had any barriers, man. And they had all these volunteers that were like 90-pound, like 12-year-olds. It's like, dude, these are some corn-fed fans. They're gonna push you right out the way, and they may not mean to. You're gonna bounce off them. So they got my 250-pound ads, and then they just kept putting me. That's how I got that picture you guys see me with Stan Lee. If you notice, I'm wearing a volunteer shirt. I gave my tickets. I had bought tickets to it, and one of the organizers, they needed, some people. And once I got there, I saw the rest of the volunteers. I'm like, okay, I can tell you where I'm going to be at. And it was me and another dude, and we kept teaming up because with that Comic-Con was packed, man. You couldn't get, this was pre-COVID, you couldn't get through nothing without putting your elbow up or putting your shoulder into somebody. And if you weren't big enough, you weren't getting through. And we had to escort Stan Lee onto the stage where Todd McFarlane was sitting. So Stan Lee at that time is 94 years old. And he's fragile. He's walking on his own. He had his little thing there, but he wasn't using it. So we had to, us big dudes. And I remember how we did it. I was in the front with my hands this way. And the bigger dude, I forgot his name. He had his hands, we clasped our hands, and then Stanley was in the middle of us. And we just got to force people, and we were trying to be polite as hell, but we need to get the fuck out of the way. So yeah, I got Julie. I believe she and Eartha Kitt were at that Comic-Con. Should Batman represent hope like at the end of Dark Knight Rises and the Batman by acting like a firefighter? I don't think Batman represents hope. I think those endings represent an understanding of where he needs to be, especially in the Batman. The Batman is like, there's more than one way I can do this. Like at the beginning of the movie, he just says, fuck it. I'm just going to beat the hell out of you, and I'm going to scare the hell out of you so you don't know if I'm going to pop out of the shadows and beat the hell out of you. There's other ways he can do it. He can become a symbol for fear and terror amongst the criminals, but he can also be represented as a symbol of alliance, like kind of like Daredevil does. Daredevil always says, I can beat up one guy at a time. I can attack one villain at a time, but I can't fight them all. And it's not going to be worth anything, and it's not going to mean anything if you all don't get behind me. And that's what it's not necessarily hope, it's allegiance. I think that's what the word I'm looking for. Yeah, Batman is a symbol of terror, but he can be more. He can be more, and that's what the Batman tried to show you, is that he can lead as well as terrorize. Yeah, the whole East Wing thing. It's just, next question. I would too. Because what if he wasn't, what if he wasn't raised by Mom and Pa Kent? I mean, if the wrong people raise you, you can turn into a piece of shit. Now you got a guy who's basically a nuclear bomb flying around, and like Ben Affleck's Batman says, the one guy who could burn it all to hell, and you wouldn't be able to stop him. When I hear Superman as a symbol of hope, I think people buy into that too much, and for me, this is me. It affects the writing and evolution of the character, because I think the word hope gets totally trampled on and misused. Not you. This is not directed at you, Seka, but I think the word hope gets trampled on, misused, and distorted whenever it comes to Superman, because when you staple that word to his forehead, it really limits the way you can tell his story to get to certain parts. I think when you're talking about, when you say, well, Superman represents hope, he means this, he means that, I'm writing a fucking story. You're talking about something that's like an abstract, and that's fine. But I think what happens when we use that word and apply it to Superman, then we use it to judge how what Superman can evolve into and where he has to go to get to those places. It makes it so that sometimes people want a Superman that just jumps out of the toaster and is all happy and hopeful. Nobody comes out that way. Everybody goes through shit, and Superman's no different. So. That's not a hot take. A lot of people like Jared Leto as Joker. The louder ones will be the ones that don't, of course, but a lot of people just, they just didn't make a lot of noise that affected they liked them. A detective scene, that's not enough. I mean, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne sat at a computer and figured some shit out. That's not a detective. That's not a detective aspect. That's a couple scenes here. No, you can tell when something has that kind of tone and that kind of mystery when it's throughout, not just a couple of scenes, throughout the movie. And the Batman, that theme, that tone is throughout the movie. It is not throughout the movie in any other Batman movie, in my opinion. It's my opinion. Yeah, see, a ton of computer rings. That's not Batman the Detective. That's like some CSI shit. Seriously, I mean, I Matt Reeves is coming the closest to it, but like a David Fincher type of situation, those type of movies, where like our Mindhunters, that's detective work. That's where the entire mystery, the show, the plot is the mystery. Not just me figuring some stuff out and overlaying a thing. No, not for me at least. Hold on for a second, guys. Brad said he was coming in 15 minutes ago, but must have got lost. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I had to get something to drink. Yeah, but that they in Man of Steel, like Superman's different, but in Man of Steel, I mean, that's the first time that they ever had anything like that happening. I think I might want to move out into the suburbs if that should ever happen to me. It's kind of hard to say something is overhyped when it's made that kind of money. I mean, it's proven. It's a proven winner, you know. I like how Snyder dare not directed Superman versus Zod as PR. Probably to me. Yeah, Zod's one of my favorite comic book villains, especially towards the end of Man of Steel when you truly understood that. Yeah, this guy was a piece of shit, and he admits that he's a piece of shit. It's static. Hope that clears it up. Yeah, Zod was designed to do what Zod, and he had no hesitation. He did what he did for Krypton as he was bred, as he was designed to do, and it made him more relatable. Made him more relatable as a villain if you can do that. Yeah, but see, that only happened because Zod didn't care about who died and what he destroyed. If you look at that fight, Kal-El is trying to get him away from this. Every time he gets him, he's shooting him further and further away from the city. And it's Zod, and Zod, remember, Zod was getting more powerful because he was getting more use of his power, kept pushing things back into Metropolis. Superman was trying to get him out. Even in Smallville, when Superman first catches Zod, he gets him as far away from Smallville as possible. But Zod had the ability to fight back, and it's Zod's resistance that caused the damage. Zod took out one of those skyscrapers with his eye beams alone, and that's the one that fell. But yeah, it was once Zod proposed himself as that type of a threat, there wasn't much Clark could do to limit that damage, unfortunately. Oh yeah, I think I saw him in Rocky first. That's for me. I saw Burgess Meredith Rocky. Burgess Meredith, the late great. Yeah, because he's gonna crush your fucking skull. At least the Batman I that I relate to. Oops, hold on. Kind of surprised that one of the oldest museums in the world doesn't have a better security apparatus. And they did that shit in broad daylight where there were no cameras. If it's a Louvre, there's nowhere that just in a museum like that, there's nowhere where there shouldn't be a camera. Every fucking angle of that place should be on film, and I don't know how that happens. So I have to agree 100% with this. It's really good YouTuber puts in perspective really nicely. Hope is what people project onto Superman. He isn't trying to be Hope. He's just a guy trying to do the right thing. That's perfect. That's actually perfect. Oh, there's so many people that died during that car chase. The guy in the truck is dead. The dude who, when he launched himself through the side of that truck while that truck is on fire and it turned, that guy's dead. There's several people whose vehicles turn over that I believe are quite dead. The fucking penguin is dead. You don't flip that high, that hard, that many times, and land with the majority of the weight on the weakest point of the vehicle, and you're still alive. It's Hollywood, though. It's Hollywood. Yeah, Scott Snyder is just changing the way DC is being perceived right now, and I think it's for the best. Yes, I did saw that. I was going to bring that up on one of the shows this weekend. Listen, it's another. Scott Snyder shot a little video of himself picking up DC Comics on something that he wrote that was at a that is at an airport. I'm sorry, I'm watching something, but I'm all for it. Like I said, anywhere, I want comics everywhere. I want comics everywhere where people are sitting, reading, or going by or buying stuff. And yeah, eventually I do want you to visit me. I want you to go to comic book stores. But I didn't start out in the comic book store. I started out at those same little racks I showed you guys the other day. If it weren't for these other places to get into comics, I would not have been able to get. Comic book stores weren't a thing when, they were a thing, but there were not as many of them as there are now, and they weren't prevalent. They weren't the cool thing to be. They were nerds went to hang out. They weren't like they were now. They were tiny little things with, maybe 700, 800 square feet, enough shelving to get those comics books in, and enough racking to put on some of the older stuff. But I started collecting when I was buying comics at the PX because I lived on an Air Force base, and then when I lived on base housing, there was a 7-Eleven right down the street. That was my primary place to get comic books. Years and years before I even walked into a comic book store. So yeah. So I want comic books everywhere, because the more places comic books are at, the more chances people will have to get into them. Yeah, and listen, guys, hashtag restore whatever, blah, whatever. I don't need any of that. I need hashtag resolve. If I need a hashtag resolve, Snyder, the nightmare scene specifically. I want to see how everything that led to that. Give me a couple hours of that. The Wonder Woman fight where she dies. Remember that nightmare scene where she's got the coins on her eyes and the sword, and she's dead, and Darkseid's ship is hovering over the funeral. What the fuck? How'd that get there? Darkseid is in Atlantis putting a fucking putting a fork in Aquaman, and then killing what's his face, Willem Dafoe's character with his beams. I want to see that. All right, and if you want to wrap up a King, do something else. But my main thing is you give me 12 issues of comic book telling me about the nightmare scenario, man, and watch that bad boy sell like hotcakes. You'll get your cartoon or something else out of it. I'm telling you. But yeah, the fact that and then at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, the whole Joker thing, I want to see that. I want to. Oh, well, whatever. Yeah, well, you're not getting that Batman because all the Batmans we've seen have not given two fucks about saving anybody. There's a lot of good things in the Batman, but I will agree that scene was. I love that scene where it's like something out of a Stephen King Christine movie where it just starts to glow and hum, and then he lurches forward just a little bit. Just say, when you're doing this to somebody and they jump, everybody jumps. Everybody's just like, fuck, we're getting out of here. It was just like something out of a horror movie. I love the Batmobile scene in the Batman. It was Batman. Batman bumps him. He uses a bump maneuver that the police use. Your car's not going to go flying like that, though, but it was a movie. Scott Snyder did The Invisibles, which I think Wachowski took inspiration from, other things. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Hit the like, subscribe, and the alert button. Like I said, I'm going to be on the air this afternoon around 4:30, guys. And then to this daytime experiment. So keep your eye on the alert bell. Lakers are 0-1, but LeBron's out. And defense wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. The turnovers is what stood out. But Golden State had 20 turnovers too. But I think that getting DeAndre Ayton integrated into the offense and the defense, he looked clueless out there the other night. Austin Reed got some bullshit fouls. I mean, fucking Curry was at the line every other minute, and that's to say, him and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I get kind of annoyed. The inconsistency in which those guys get foul calls for them is kind of like it's on national TV, and now you have the whole betting thing happen. People are gonna be, oh, it's fixed, and I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. But yeah, the Lakers are gonna be fine. I think the Lakers are gonna be one of the top 4 teams in the NBA. When it's all said and done. Yeah, she was. All right, about to wrap this up. Well, that's the only reason I would ever release the haircut. Because to me, introducing Harley Quinn and the Joker was essential to whatever Snyder's story was going to tell. So that's the only reason why I would want to see all the evolution of those two in that movie, and then have it evolve into what we saw. Because obviously we going into discussion, we know that Harley Quinn is killed and it's the Joker's to blame for it. So I would want to. I wanted to see that Joker evolve. I wanted to see him. But if you're not going to release the nightmare scenario, then I don't care. I mean, not as much as a lot of other people do. Yeah, and Kevin Durant used to get the benefit of the doubt when it came to calls. He's not getting that now. He didn't get that on the OKC. OKC, he got called for some shit that usually in the first half of his career he would not get called for. All right, guys. That's where I'm going to wrap it up. Ended up not having a co-host tonight. 4:30 this afternoon. Just going to have some fun. I'm going to talk to some guests, some people doing their own projects. Going to bring up some current merchandising stuff. And we'll see how you guys like it. So please like, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the alert button, and go into the description and join all of our social media. And I will see you in about 12, 13, 14 hours. Have a good night, guys.